Dominique Paterano, founder and head coach of Crimson Coaching, expert academic assistance for students age 5 and up. Today is episode 4 of my college app countdown class, and I'll just explain what that is as people kind of stream in every week from August 1st till November 1st when the early app deadline occurs. I am offering a 5 to 10 minute course on Monday evenings usually to help students stay on track for every week of the college application process. Last week was episode 3, and we went through how to draft your personal statement. And this week is going to be pretty similar. We'll be drafting another personal statement. As you know from episode 2, we brainstormed all 7 of the Common App prompts. And I asked you last week to pick which 2 you felt best represented you, the you that you would like colleges to know about. And hopefully between last week and tonight, you've already drafted one draft for one question. Well, tonight, I'd like you to start on drafting a totally different draft for a totally different question. A lot of students will say, well, why should I do that? I already know the one that I'm going to pick, and I get it. Most times students feel a gut reaction towards one particular question. That could definitely be the case. But I'm asking you to write a second draft, just a draft, because you never know what you could find. A different prompt could elicit or bring forth in you to do, to look at. And so because you could really go back to question 3, or rather episode 3 of last week's episode in order to find out all my tips. And I don't want to say the same exact thing that I did last week. What I'm going to do is veer a little bit back towards the Common App section of the Common App and the profile section. I'd like to talk for my remaining time a little bit about your activities section. You'll remember on night 1 of the course, the very first night of the course, we talked about filling out your profile, your family, your education, your parents' education, all of that kind of demographic info. And I said at that time, I would leave the activity section to another night because it was kind of such a big topic. And so I'm going to talk about that tonight. So I realize that I'm giving you 2 tasks to work on this week. Usually I only give you 1 task, but it's very important that you start working on the activity section. You won't finish it all in a week, but that's okay. I'd like you to start taking, before you ever go down to your computer and start writing in your activities, I want you to do this either on your laptop or on a piece of paper, because once you get into the Common App, it can be a little tricky. So what you should do is make a list of every single activity you've done during high school. Now, a lot of students will say, well, what if I did it in middle school? If you're still doing that activity in high school, great, list it. But if you only did the activity in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, or maybe even 6th, 7th, 8th, and you maybe stopped in 9th, you probably won't want to include it if you have many other extracurricular activities. You can include the one where you did 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th if you don't have anything else. You should put something down, but if you only did it in 6th, 7th, or 8th or earlier, do not include that activity. So list all your activities first. Then in the next column, and I suggest doing this in sort of a chart format when you're doing it for your first draft, list the years you did it. So did you do it in 9th, 10th, and 11th, and 12th, or just which years you did it? Then you want to list in the 3rd column whether you had any leadership roles. Were you the captain of a sport? Did you have the lead in a play? Were you the director of a play? Were you first chair in the orchestra? whatever kind of leadership role that you might have had in that activity, list that as well. In the next column, list, did you receive any awards? So maybe you were most valuable player for that year in that sport, or maybe you got an Honor Society, Music Honor Society award. List that in the fourth column. And then in the last column, to the best of your ability, try to figure out how many hours per week, per month, or per year this took you. Now, I know hours per year would be crazy to figure out, okay? But I'm asking you because the Common App is going to want to know, does this take place all year long? Like, for instance, if you're on a travel sport, you might play it 12 months out of the year. If you're on a sport for school, it may just be 3 months out of the year. So whatever it is, try to figure out how many months out of the year, and as well, how many hours per week that you did that activity. And if it changes, that's okay. Just try to figure out the hour, because the last time I did this, I don't believe they allow for, well, I do it 6 hours during the summer, but only 3.5 during the year. Try to do the best you can to figure out an average. And, they're not going to come, checking to make sure you spent 10.72 hours at that activity, but you want to be as truthful as you can. And of course, as in every single part of your Common App, always be truthful. If you didn't have any leadership activities, perhaps you want to address that in one of your supplementals, and we can talk about the supplementals in a later week. It's okay if you didn't have any leadership activities, but clearly you want to be truthful here. So that's about it for this evening. So your 2 tasks for this week are to finish the draft 2 for whichever Common App personal statement you have, and to get started on your activities list. And I don't expect you to finish that, but again, please get started because it's going to take a while, believe me, once you start doing that. If you have any questions on anything we covered this week or any other weeks, please feel free to private message me on Facebook or email me at info@crimsoncoaching.com. And do tune in next week to episode 5, which will be at 9 p.m. You'll note we're slightly earlier this week. That's because I'm actually teaching this class in person to real live students in Larchmont this week. And the class starts tonight at 7:30 to 9:30. So usually the course will be at 9 p.m. all Mondays. And if you feel like you would like a course like this in person, obviously it goes into a lot more detail and you get my private personalized feedback on your essay, feel free to check out my website, www.crimsoncoaching.com, where you can find out all about the different talks I give, classes I give. And again, you can fill out the info form there if you'd like me to get back to you. So once again, I'm Dr. P. Dominique Paterano, founder and head coach of Crimson Coaching. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.